Sanders and the Browns enter their second week of OTAs. The young quarterback fighting for a roster spot, maybe eventually fighting for the starting job. His dad, Deion, went on the Say What Needs to Be Said podcast with Asante Samuel and addressed reports that Shedeur wasn't prepared for meetings ahead of the NFL draft. We've all heard those whispers that caused him to fall to the 5th round. Here was Dad.
When you sit up there and say something like, he went in a meeting unprepared, like, dude, Shedeur Sanders, who's had 6 different coordinators, who has still functioned and went up, leveled up every time we brought somebody new in, and you're gonna tell me you're gonna tell me he had on headphones, Shedeur. Anybody know my son, understand he's professional. Like, he's gonna go into a meeting with headphones on, like, y'all come on.
It's a really complicated issue because here's the bottom line of it, and I'll give it to the group. In fact, Peter, I'll start with you as our insider. He was a complicated evaluation. There was no one, and my job as the host of the draft is to aggregate all of the opinion that exists. There was no one who had him falling to the 5th round. No one. And I remember the line some would say, well, if his name was Shedeur Jones, he might fall to the 3rd round. He fell to the 5th round. If his name had been Shedeur Jones, maybe he would have gone in the 3rd round, but it worked out in the opposite direction. So when you hear Deion saying this stuff, what do you think about around the league?
32 teams passed on Shedeur Sanders, including the Cleveland Browns, who took a quarterback in the 3rd round before taking Shedeur Sanders, including the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just completely waited until the 6th round to take a quarterback, and of course, including the Las Vegas Raiders, who have an owner in Tom Brady, who at the very least has served as a mentor and sort of a person that he goes to for advice. Here's the bottom line. All that is erased now, except it's really not, because he's the 4th quarterback on the depth chart. And they just had OTAs, and there was glowing reviews from everyone in the media, and we're tracking his passes. But Shedeur Sanders still has to come in and earn every single thing. Do I think the reports about him being ill-prepared? Look, I don't have anyone on record telling me he was wearing headphones. I don't have anyone on record telling me personally that he was on a FaceTime call, which is something that you read about in the media. I don't have those stories. What I do have is that, you know what, we're good. We don't need Shedeur Sanders. We don't need all of that in our room. But all that is gone now. He's a Cleveland Brown now.
Right. I agree. Here's what's interesting to me. Like, I was on record for months saying I thought he was either the 2nd or 3rd best quarterback, bottom of the 1st, maybe top of 2nd, worst case scenario. But the NFL is the ultimate meritocracy, and every team is dying for a good young quarterback, and they saw something in the pre-draft process. Bart, you may disagree, but that's the facts, the reality. Look, we drafted Laramie Tunsil with the gas mask. We have signed players off of suspension. Right, and that worked out great. So I'm saying this is a league of second chances and forgiveness.
What?
There was some madness. But Bart,
are we going to consider headphones with a gas mask?
But I'm just
making a point.
My point is this, Bart. When you look at the objective facts, he didn't go in the 5th round. Some disconnect happened in the pre-draft process. There's no other way to explain it. It's just, now look, with that said, he could turn it all on its head. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. He could start an opening day. So, like, this is the beginning of the story. But, Bart, the reality is 32 teams had an opinion, and he won in the 5th round.
At least 5 of them was wrong, right? Because they need a quarterback in the best way. He can, you talk about from extremes. You said fighting for a roster spot to potentially being a starter.
Right.
Like, what are we doing? It's a lot of in between. So you mean to tell me that that's a 5th round pick?
No.
You used to tell me a lot of stuff. But one of the things you used to tell me was production breeds tolerance. His college production breeds tolerance. It maybe not the 1st round tolerance, maybe not the 2nd round, but come on, the 3rd round. I mean, come on, the Jets. I mean, you're going to put all your faith in Justin Fields reviving his career, knowing that Jordan Travis potentially was going to retire from football. You understand, if you're the Saints, you understand that Carr is going to retire from football. You wouldn't throw something against the wall in the 4th round. Those are throwaway picks. Half of those guys don't even make your roster. So I think it's laughable that that so many teams pass on him over and over again.
So why
half of the 4th round?
That's the question.
Because they cut their nose to spite their face. Whatever statement they were trying to make, a lot of those guys that made those picks, I guarantee you at least 3 or 4 of them is going to be unemployment line. It's going to be because they didn't find a quarterback that they were looking looking for, whether it's general manager or head coach.
You said that the league is the ultimate meritocracy, and generally speaking, I agree with you. But in this case, it doesn't seem to be the case, right? No one doesn't think he was good enough to have been drafted well higher than he was. So there was some outlier here. There was some sort of different circumstances that created what wound up happening.
Yeah, it was, look, the Deion thing might not have been, hey, I'm scared that Deion's going to take my job or that Deion's going to end up.
That's shame on you if that even.
Deion Sanders served, he didn't have an agent during this process. So he's going out there, and we're hearing stories about, hey, I don't necessarily know where he's going to end up. I don't know where we want him to go here. He's wearing cleats that say the New York Giants on the bowl game bar. There are things that were different. It's a different prospect.
You deserve to be fired if you're afraid of a man taking your job, so you don't take his
So
stuff.
why is Shedeur Sanders not so offended, but everyone else is? Deion seems to be very upset in that.
Because he's in a moment. His only job is to prove them wrong.
And Shedeur's been amazing because Shedeur said, I'm not motivated by that. I'm motivated by myself.
He's not going to tell you.
People were crying on television in RC, crying on television that Shedeur Sanders was prank called. That same night, Shedeur Sanders was out at a club enjoying himself because he got drafted by a team. I think people are very sensitive about Shedeur. Shedeur just taking it as it is, and he's going to prove a lot of people wrong.
He's not going to show you the outside stuff, the inside stuff outside. His job is to show that everything is okay here and still project that confidence.
And
His
if he
father
doesn't play,
is
is
supposed to
everyone
speak
else
for him.
wrong because he doesn't play? If Flacco's getting the reps, or if Dylan Gabriel beats him out, it could happen. They drafted Dylan. Is everyone else just an idiot because that happened?
Yes. And you don't believe that.
But, you know, guys, here's the facts. Like, all of us in the media who watched the film had him somewhere between the first, maybe the third. There was some disconnect in the pre-draft process.
Right.
I think Peter's making an interesting nuanced point. When you have an agent, you're getting active feedback that you could react to. Maybe you go back in for another visit. There was some disconnect in the pre-draft process, Gree. There's no other way to reconcile his ability and the result of what happened.
Right. And so what?
It's just disgusting.
It's disgusting because there's no way that his talent means that he should have got picked in the 5th round. And that's shame on everybody else that didn't pick him because of whatever reason it was.
Right.
And explain it away.
I'm dying to know what the reason was. The 30 for 30 someday is going to be unbelievable.
All right, take a look now. Are we making moves in the National Football League now that the calendar has turned its page? It's officially post-June 1st, which means many teams and stars can start making moves. Our star, NFL insider Dan Graziano, is with us. Dan, we always hear about teams having to wait until that date, and now they're good. So who could be impacted here?
Well, you put up a couple pictures there, Randy. So I think you look first at Jalen Ramsey. The Miami Dolphins have made it clear they intend to move on from him. Had they traded him earlier this offseason, that would have resulted in a dead money cap charge on their 2025 cap of $25.2 million. But having waited till after June 1st, that charge dropped to about $6.75 million, with the rest hitting their 2026 cap. So it becomes easier from a cap standpoint to trade him. Now, the acquiring team still has to pay him $20 million, so we'll see if they can find a trade partner, but that's something to look out for. The other one that everybody wants to know about is Kirk Cousins, still on the Falcons. Even though Michael Penix Jr. is set to be their starter, if the Falcons had traded Cousins earlier this offseason, it would have been a $37.5 million dead money cap hit. Now, if they do it, it's $12.5, with the rest hitting next year's cap. But the issue with Cousins is not cap, it's cash. He's making $27.5 million in guaranteed salary this year, and he's got another $10 million guaranteed for next year. So whoever acquires him is going to have to take that on or get the Falcons to pick up some of it. And right now, the Falcons haven't been willing to pick up enough of that money to get a deal done.
If only there was a team in need of a quarterback. Oh, hey, next Tuesday, June 10th, the Steelers start mandatory minicamps. And we still have no word on Aaron Rodgers, Dan. So at what point is Pittsburgh just going to start looking elsewhere?
I think we have a couple more months of this unless Aaron Rodgers makes a decision soon. Pittsburgh, they look at next week's minicamp. If Rodgers is not there, as a chance for Mason Rudolph and Will Howard to show what they can do, get some extra reps. If Rodgers is not there by the time they go to training camp in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, late July, then I think that's when the Steelers start to look at other options. They have said, their GM Omar Khan has said, they always go to training camp with 4 quarterbacks. Right now they have 3. So there's a spot for Rodgers. If he doesn't want it, then I would imagine they would get it to somebody else by the time they head to Latrobe in late July. But as of now, Randy, we are just waiting on Aaron Rodgers.
We're pretty good at that by
familiar?
now. Yeah.